uh, Virgo. I've been thinking about what makes a community feel real versus what makes it feel like an audience. And what I've landed on is this a real community is one where people bring the actual version of themselves, not the version they've cleaned up for public consumption. What happens in the comments here, the things people share, the recognition that passes between strangers who have never met but who apparently share the same interior landscape that's real. You're real to me. Thank you for being here in that way. Now let's get into something that has been genuinely crackling as I've been sitting with Virgo's energy, because this one is alive. Picture a theater the moment before the curtain goes up, not the performance itself, the moment before the house light's still on, the low murmur of the audience settling, the particular quality of anticipation that fills a room when everyone present knows something is about to begin, but nobody yet knows quite how it will unfold. There's electricity in that specific silence, a charge, something that has been building off stage for a long time, rehearsed and prepared and held back, finally reaching the threshold of the moment where it gets to be real. That is the exact atmosphere I am walking into with your reading right now. The curtain is about to go up on something, and the audience, and there is an audience, that is not a metaphor I'm using loosely. There are actual people in your life who have been watching and waiting and forming opinions and placing quiet bets. The audience does not know what they're about to see. They think they do. They've been so certain they knew how this particular story was going to go that they've already rehearsed their reactions. They've already decided how they feel about it. They are about to be completely wrong. And the fallout from that, the recalibration, the scrambling, the very human and very undignified process of people who were certain suddenly being uncertain, that is what this reading is pointing toward. Not as a warning, as information, because you need to understand what's coming so you can move through it with the steadiness you're capable of, rather than being blindsided by the noise when it starts. And there will be noise. Let me start with the center of this, which is the person. There is someone in or adjacent to your life who has been in a position of choice. Not a simple choice, not a binary one, the kind of choice that has weight on every side of it, that has consequences regardless of which direction it goes, that has been complicated by outside pressure and other people's expectations, and perhaps a history that made the clear path difficult to see through all the accumulated weather of the situation. This person has been choosing you, slowly, maybe, in ways that weren't announced, in small, consistent movements in your direction that you may have noticed and then talked yourself out of noticing. Because Virgo, as we have established, is extraordinarily skilled at second guessing its own accurate perception. But the choosing has been happening, and what I'm looking at now is that something is crystallizing. The slow choosing is becoming a declared choosing. The internal, private, unannounced movement toward you is reaching the point where it can no longer remain internal or private or unannounced, where it is going to become visible, named, real in the world in a way that other people will have to reckon with, and that the reckoning is where the drama lives. Because this choice does not exist in a vacuum. There are people around both of you who have something invested in a different outcome, who have been operating on the assumption that things were going to go a certain way, who may have staked something, social capital, their sense of how the world works, their own emotional arrangements on the version of events that does not include this person choosing you so openly, so fully, so undeniably. When that assumption breaks, it is not going to break quietly. Let me look at who specifically is going to be affected, because I want to be as precise as I can here rather than speaking in abstractions. The first category, and this one might surprise you, is people who considered themselves close to this person, friends, possibly, people who felt they had influence over this person's choices, who perhaps offered opinions that were not asked for or drew lines that were not theirs to draw. There's an entitlement energy in what I'm looking at here. People who confused proximity with authority, who believed that caring about someone gave them a vote in who that person loves. They are going to discover they don't have that vote. And the discovery is going to be loud. People who believed they had influence and find out they didn't tend to make a certain kind of noise. It's not the noise of grief, exactly. It's the noise of injured pride, the noise of someone who was wrong about their own importance in a situation and cannot yet admit it. So they externalize it as anger or judgment or sudden moral concern about things they never cared about before. Expect that noise. It's going to come. The second category is people who have had an opinion about you, specifically not about the situation in general, but about you as a person, about whether you're the right fit, about whether you deserve what this person is about to give you. There may have been conversations you weren't present for, impressions formed and shared, a particular narrative about you that circulated in spaces you didn't have access to. That narrative is about to be overruled, not by argument, not by you defending yourself or proving anything, simply by the reality of what this person is choosing and the clarity of why they're choosing it. The verdict of someone who actually knows you, who has seen the real version of you and not the version others assembled from a distance, is going to carry more weight than everything that was said without you in the room. But the people who built that narrative are not going to simply discard it gracefully. Wait, something is sharpening here and I want to stay with it. There's someone specific in the outer ring of this situation, not close to the center, not someone who has a legitimate stake in what happens, but someone who has appointed themselves a kind of commentator who has been watching this unfold from a position of performed neutrality that is not actually neutral at all. Someone who has been saying the right things in public while thinking very different things in private, and who is going to be particularly unsettled when what actually happens contradicts the story they've been quietly telling. You may not know exactly who this is yet, but you'll recognize them when the noise starts. I want to talk about you in all of this, because what I see in your reading is not just the external drama, it's something happening in you simultaneously, and I think it's the more important story. You are not someone who sought this, the visibility, the controversy, the being at the center of something that other people have strong feelings about. None of that is what you signed up for. You didn't engineer this situation to be complicated. You didn't choose to become the focal point of other people's discomfort. What you did was exist as yourself, with the particular depth and specificity of yourself, in a way that reached someone, in a way that made this person see something they couldn't unsee. That's not a manipulation. That's not a campaign. That's just you being real. And real things have weight, and weight creates consequences. But here's what I know about Virgo. When the consequences start to arrive, there's an instinct to shrink, to make yourself smaller in the interest of reducing friction, to wonder in the privacy of your own mind whether the disruption is somehow your fault, whether you should have been less, whether the fact that people are upset means you did something wrong. I am asking you directly to resist that instinct. You did not do something wrong. You did not cause this by being too much or wanting too much or allowing yourself to be chosen by someone who chose you genuinely. The disruption belongs to the people who are disrupted. Their discomfort is a consequence of their assumptions, not of your existence. You are allowed to be chosen. You are allowed to let it be visible. You are allowed to stand in the light of what this person is declaring without flinching and without apologizing for the fact that the light is landing on you. That steadiness, not arrogance, not aggression, just the simple, quiet refusal to become smaller under pressure is going to be the most important thing you bring to this period. Let me look at what the drama actually costs you, because I want to be honest rather than breezy about this. It's going to require something. Social situations are going to be more complicated for a window of time. There may be people who change how they treat you, who were warm before and are suddenly cooler, who were present before and are suddenly less available. There may be conversations that happen around you that you only get partial information about. There may be a period where you feel the specific discomfort of being talked about, of being a subject of other people's processing in a way that is not comfortable for someone who generally prefers to move through the world with more control over their own narrative. I'm not going to tell you that's nothing. It's something. But here's what I keep seeing when I look at what's on the other side of this period. What you gain is not proportional to what it costs. What you gain is significantly, meaningfully larger. The thing about drama that people often miss is that it's clarifying. When things get noisy and people start showing their hands, you find out very quickly who is genuinely in your corner and who was only there while it was easy. That information, the real map of who your people actually are, is genuinely valuable. It's the kind of thing you can build on. The friendships and alliances that survive this period are going to be among the sturdiest things in your life. They'll have been tested. They'll have held. The ones that don't survive, the ones that fall away when the situation requires even minimal courage from them, you didn't need those. You only didn't know it yet. Something else is present in this reading that I haven't addressed yet, and it's been waiting patiently at the edge of things while I covered the more external terrain. I want to get to it now because it feels essential. This person who is choosing you, the act of their choosing, is itself a kind of courage. I want to name that because I think it matters for how you receive what's coming. This is not someone who has an easy path to you. There are complications in their world, pressures of some kind, expectations that are real even if they're not reasonable, a surrounding landscape that is not uncomplicated, and they are walking through all of that towards you anyway. That's not a small thing. That's someone making a decision that costs them something. Not as a performance of devotion. I don't feel any performance energy in this, which is actually what makes it significant, but as a genuine reckoning with what they actually want versus what is easy or convenient or socially uncontroversial. They've chosen what they actually want, which is you. And the particular quality of being chosen like that, chosen despite the cost, chosen in the full awareness of what the choice disrupts, is different from being chosen when the choosing is effortless. It means something different. It carries a different weight. It says something about you that no one else's opinion or narrative or appointed commentary can overwrite. You are worth the complication to them. That is what this choice is saying. Let yourself feel that. Not briefly, not on your way to analyzing what comes next. Actually feel it. Let it occupy the space it deserves. I want to give you something practical to hold on to as this unfolds, because I think practical is useful right now alongside everything else. When the noise starts, and it will start, your most powerful tool is not a counter argument. It's not a defense. It's not an explanation or a justification or an appeal to fairness. Your most powerful tool is your conduct, the simple, consistent, visible evidence of who you actually are, how you actually move, what you actually do with what you've been given. People who have formed opinions based on a narrative can hold that narrative against almost anything you say, but they genuinely struggle to hold it against the sustained reality of your presence, against time, against the accumulating, undeniable evidence of someone who is simply being themselves, clearly and without apology, over and over again. You don't have to win this argument. You don't have to win any argument. You just have to continue being exactly who you are, with the particular precision and integrity that you've always brought to the way you live, and let the reality of that do what argument never could. The people worth keeping will see it. The ones who can't see it through the noise were never really looking at you to begin with. One last thing, and I feel it as the truest note in this entire reading, so I want to give it the space it deserves. You have spent a long time being chosen partially, being wanted with conditions, being loved in ways that required you to make yourself more convenient, more legible, more easily accommodated by whoever was doing the loving. You've shaped yourself around other people's comforts so many times that some of that shaping has started to feel like just your shape. It's not your shape. What's coming, this person, this choice, the drama that follows, and what it reveals is part of the process of you remembering what your actual shape is, what it feels like to be wanted for the precise, specific, unmistakable, inconveniently real version of yourself. Not a convenient version, not a softer version, not a version that has done the work of anticipating everyone else's reactions and pre-adjusting to minimize friction. You, the full version, the complicated, precise, deeply feeling, occasionally difficult, profoundly capable, endlessly worthy version of you that has been waiting for exactly this kind of choosing. It's here. The curtain is going up. The audience is about to see something they didn't expect, and you center stage, exactly where you belong, exactly as you are about to find out what it feels like to stop accommodating everyone else's comfort and simply stand in your own light. Let them be surprised. Let them be mad. Let them figure out what to do with a story that didn't go the way they predicted. You've got somewhere much better to be. The comments are the place I want to hear this. Have you felt the weight of being chosen partially, of someone wanting you, but quietly, privately, in ways they weren't willing to make visible? Because I think that specific experience is one some of you know deeply, and I think what's shifting for Virgo right now is the end of that. Tell me if this landed. Tell me if you felt it. And if you already know exactly who this reading is about, drop a single heart. I'll know what it means.